Okay, we should be ready to go.
All right, it being a little after 9 o'clock, we'll bring the Facilities and Property Management Committee to order. First agenda item, approval of the minutes of the January 18th, 2022 Facility and Property Management Committee.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Second, being secretary.
Right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Why can't I stay? I'm sorry. Yeah. I abstained on that was weird.
Okay. Moving on, agenda item number 2, correspondence shared by committee members. Anybody have anything? All I would have is that Chairman Egan said he might not be able to be here today and he might try to be on Zoom, so.
Steve is on.
All right. Anybody else have any correspondence? Hearing none, moving on. Public input on agenda items. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Anybody from the public wish to speak? Anybody from the public wish to speak? All right, that agenda item is closed. Moving on to agenda item 4, discussion of responsible bidders, contractors, and county role. Mike?
We haven't really had a whole lot of time to work on that.
Okay.
We've had some discussions with myself and county corporate counsel,
Mhm.
and we're going to try and get all the different departments together and discuss this as a whole to see how we can make it workable for everybody. Right now, I'm trying to get the using the project survey, project report form together so that we keep records of it.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to get the information from Laura Forbes on what she had done 10, 15 years ago
Okay.
and try and get that going. Some of the big questions that we still have is that we need to decide like how long is somebody disbarred for? What do they have to do to get back into our good graces?
Sure, I did some digging. I don't believe that the county cannot disbar anybody. The only entity that can disbar somebody is the state of Wisconsin. So we can't disbar somebody. That might not be the
Okay.
right term, but I don't know. We have it seems like we have the leeway.
ability.
We have the ability to choose what we deem as the lowest responsible bidder. And that term responsible is pretty broad. And it as the corporation counsel, I thought outlined that seemed to me that we have the ability to define that word responsible.
Right.
And I'll do some more digging. I know I'll try to bring what I can find for next month. I think everybody maybe on this committee, maybe do some research on that. That would be good. But I know there's some other municipalities that have, well, obviously everybody's going to be dealing with this, but try to do some homework on this and see if anybody else has something in place that we can go off of. So, and Mike, so we do something at facilities. How do we make it something like a county-wide? You know, if you know, right, that was what you had been talking about. You're like, well, it doesn't make sense just to do something at facilities if we decide to take some action.
The county executive would need to make it a decree with all the departments to do it. And then it would be up to them to actually follow it. And if they don't follow it, then then it would be a discussion with the county executive and that department head.
Could we do a county-wide ordinance?
I don't know if it would fall into the ordinance
I don't know.
or not. You know, that would be something that we could look at. That's more like an operational type thing. So I know they're going through the recodification process. I don't know exactly everything that they are considering for ordinance qualified, and
Sure,
it's like, no, this is an operating procedure we need to follow.
sure. Okay. Anybody else have anything on on this.
So in other words, right now, we just still have to take the lowest bidder no matter what.
No, if there's something that I can come up with and justify not using them, then we're probably doing it until maybe somebody would want to take us to court, and then they could show that we were being arbitrary, and it might get overturned.
But we haven't done that yet, and the
Yeah.
whole discussion about this is that, us
No.
as county board supervisors should have a role, fiduciary responsibility or to the taxpayers, right? If
Mhm.
we're stuck in my craw, then Mike is telling us that we're costing the taxpayers $40,000 to fix something that a contractor should have fixed. I mean, that's our job,
Yeah.
I feel, as supervisors, to be fiduciarily responsible to our constituents and the taxpayers of the county, right? That's not
Right.
responsible to let that happen again.
Yeah, so, it's something that everybody complains about that I've talked to.
Yeah.
And nobody's really found a good way to do it. I know we did, a number of years ago, we had a roofing project. There was some disagreements over the award of the bid. And basically, we just, didn't award the bid to anybody. And then you have to make a substantial change to the bid or clarification. And we put it back out for bid again, and then the person who complained tripled their price and just said, "I'll never work for you again."
Sure, that works.
Which wasn't the goal that we had, because it really wasn't a qualification type problem. It was that they didn't meet everything in this, that the spec called out for, and the second lowest bidder did.
Yeah, and I don't know if you were here when Mary Ann was here.
No,
No, you weren't here, so she was explaining there's emails between Mike and his facilities crew saying, hey, we got to go over there and fix this stuff, and
Yeah.
and she said, that's documentation, that's,
Yeah,
well,
wasn't the windows or something out there, wasn't it?
it was the locks and the doors.
Yeah.
It was doing the lock unit at Parkview, where it's like we were there cleaning up after them all the time. We did the rehabilitation of some of our courthouse doors, and we were the project manager. It's like, where's the general? The general wasn't there, and the subs are coming to us saying, what are we supposed to do? And I don't have the contract with them. So if I tell them to do something that they weren't contracted to do, then
There's a problem there.
there's a problem. That's a problem.
And in the bid, they had, the general contractor must supply a superintendent on site, right? And so then they're going to the county folks, employees saying, hey, what about this? What about this? And wasting their time.
Yeah. Right.
So,
we're documenting that, and we'll go from there. It may eventually, somebody may just get frustrated enough with our process, and they'll take us to court, and then it'll be a judge that has to decide whether we're being arbitrary or not. And I don't think anybody really wants to spend the money going to court.
yeah, and there was cited court cases throughout Wisconsin where this happened, and every time it was found, the municipality was found in the right. So good. That's to keep you up to speed. All right, anybody else on this? Moving on, discussion of human services building elevator repairs.
That is out for bid. The bids are due the 1st of March. We are trying to drum up more business because only one elevator company has taken out the specs the last time I looked. And that is Kone, and they were the people that have our maintenance contract right now, and they are the people who submitted the proposal that the basis of our bid specs was developed off of. So right now we have at least one bidder. We're trying to beat the bushes with others. And we'll see what we can do. There's been a lot of consolidation in the elevator business. So there's a few of them that we've dealt with in the past that are no longer in business.
What was that put out on Demand Star?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If just for everybody on the committee, this website called Demand Star, and Supervisor Binder actually turned me on to it. You get one free county or municipality, so you can see all the bids from Winnebago County. So you go to demandstar.com, sign up for an account. And then anytime there's a bid that's let out or awarded or documents, that you can get that for free. It's a nice website.
It's a nationwide thing,
Yep.
so, I get bids. I'm signed up, I get noticed for any kind of facility bid that goes out. And most of them I'll just throw away, but I'll take a look at them and, you know, if somebody is doing something for like snow plowing, you know, I'll take a look at it, and if it's something that really looks like it's a good spec, I'll save it and we'll use it as a basis for our stuff in the future. But, you know, like for concrete or just a whole bunch of stuff that goes out there. I see them, and then,
So you could look for elevators.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that, and see,
Yeah.
okay, how many other people are there out there?
how many other municipalities, whatever, have done this?
So the way I understand it, the elevators are gonna be to where they can actually be repaired by anybody once this is put in.
The one elevator,
One elevator at the,
at the Oshkosh Human Services
right,
is going to have its controls replaced with what's called a non-proprietary system, and anybody should be able to work on it. So I would not be, because like if we, let's say if Schindler would come in and put in their controls, anybody can work on them up to a part. It's kind of like a car. If all of a sudden you need the brain for your car, well, now you got to go back to the manufacturer to get it, or a junkyard to get one from your manufacturer. This one, the brains are going to be something that you can go to Walmart and get. I'm facetiously, but anybody should be able to go and get them. They're open source, ready to go.
Okay, anybody else? Moving on to discussion of building assessment study.
We've got 3 companies that we're gonna be looking at this afternoon, hopefully. And one is a Wisconsin company, 2 of them, one's a national company, and the other one's from Minnesota, and kind of a national company. And all 3 of them have done well over 100 building assessment studies. They seem pretty good, and we'll see what they have to say this afternoon and see if any one of the 3 meets our criteria, or we get a good feeling that they're going to do a good job for us. And then we'll be able to report back to you next month on who was selected, and we'll go from there. And they've all been told, we want to get this done within like 6 months. They've all promised that they can get it done within 6 months from the award.
so what do you think would be the cost of this?
The lowest cost one was about $185,000, and the highest cost one was just under 300. So we should get it for what the budget request was for.
Okay,
Now, the one thing I want to say is Allegheny County could not fund their portion of studying UW Fox. So the idea is I will ask them what the cost is to do UW Fox, get half the cost to Allegheny County so they can get it in their budget, and next January we will do UW Fox. I just want everybody to know that those buildings were carved out.
Okay.
So that's
Simply because they want to do it, they want to pay it, and it's not necessarily a clean way for us to pay for it all and then go back and bill them back for it. So they want to know what the cost is before they go forward.
Yep, somebody in the waiting.
But the engineering study would determine that too, wouldn't it?
For which,
UW5,
Things, right?
the engineering,
2 different things. The engineering for,
when you're saying UW Fox, what are you?
I'm talking about when we sent these consultant teams out and they're going to do
Right.
total building review.
Oh,
Fox is being
you're not
delayed
just looking at
until
one project, you're looking at the whole thing.
they're looking at the whole thing. So what I think you're talking about for the student center, if that goes forward, that's gonna go forward with that,
Independent.
yeah, independently.
Anybody else have any questions on the building assessment study? Moving on, discussion of 980 housing project.
That's moving right along. We've got it out for bid. That is due February 28th. We have probably about 6 general contractors that are interested in doing it. We've got, the city has taken a look at our site plan. They've come back with a couple questions for us to answer. We've answered them. They're happy with them. They're doing a more in-depth one. I don't see any problems with them passing it.
That's
So-
really good.
We've got it going. We've got, the base bid is to do 6 of them. And we're gonna get a cost to do a 7th and an 8th, which I think we're gonna have enough funding to do the 7th and the 8th. The city only approved us to do 8. So the plan right now is to get 2 of them built, get the people out of the trailer, get rid of the trailer, and then build to the east and fill them up, unfortunately. We've got one person that we've been going to the courts over the last year, that Judge Jorgensen has been patient with us with our plan. Our next hearing with him is in June, and hopefully it will be looking good that he will work with us to get the 3rd individual into our 3rd building that we get built. And we've just been notified that there's a possibility of another 4th one coming out here in the near future.
I mean, I didn't know this was on the table, but taking the trailer out, that I didn't know that was part of the plan. I mean, it's gonna go back to, Supervisor Winkren was always complaining about this, and rightfully so. I mean, we built that Huber building that only lasted 20 years, and we spent a lot of time talking about this trailer. Mike, I'm sure, spent a lot of hours. He was looking for a trailer, poured a slab, did all the landscaping, all the fencing, and now, I mean, within 2 years, then, I mean,
Well, it's
we
gonna-
poured a slab out there.
Yeah.
We got water out there. I mean, and so,
Part of the reason is the city does not want it to be a trailer park.
Hmm.
We've also got another company that's interested in buying the trailer.
well, that's good.
So, and
Salvage value.
Yeah, but I mean, we spent some money on that infrastructure. I mean, probably the tune of $50,000 in a couple of years that we're not gonna use it anymore.
But we're not gonna be able to use any of that structure out there.
no,
A question, excuse me, on the trailer also. From time to time, I recall there was one instance where somebody had to have supervision there. I don't know if it was 24 hours.
it's 24/7.
Would the trailer be something that the state would like us to have so that we can put somebody there in that trailer for supervision purposes? Would they be interested in reimbursing us or not? That's not on the 980 books. And
No.
let's not put it there.
No,
Okay.
they
We
would
won't have to
be,
bring a trailer in later and,
no, because they're actually in the rooms with him.
oh, okay.
It's basically a nursing home. So,
So basically, the trailer is gonna be eliminated
yeah,
and will be taken out.
And that
Once
was-
up, but are you gonna have 3 or 4 of them built before you do that?
Yeah.
I would say at least 4.
yeah, we'll have 3 of them built before we do that.
Yeah, because you can't, I mean, just,
And then by fall, the first person that was in the trailer should be eligible for release.
Oh.
So that would open up one of the buildings.
I know we were under a pinch, but right at the time, but just, we put some money into that infrastructure there. And Mike, like I said, put a lot of time into finding a trailer, a new trailer, a used trailer. And I said, pouring a slab, that means some of the landscaping, the fence, the electrical, I mean, and then in 2 years, that's kind of burns me a little bit, but I desperate times call for desperate measures, but just so you guys know that that's what happened.
What's the salvage value of the trailer? Did they offer you, make an offer on it, or is it kind of confidential?
I would say it's confidential right now because we're kind of in negotiations, but,
At least there is a
we're probably gonna make
reversion,
money on it.
there's a reversion at least.
Yeah,
You can make money on it.
When we were looking for trailers, we got two bids. One was $110,000
mhm.
and one was $43,000. We bought the $43,000 one,
Brand new.
brand new. So
Good job.
I think we will have some salvage value that we will recover some of our costs.
That's what it is.
On the 2-year cash flow with a reversion. Still going pretty good. Probably.
I mean, we could find those numbers out, but I said pouring a slab and getting electrical there. I mean, it wasn't just,
What was the total?
it wasn't, Mike, it wasn't like this.
No.
There was a lot of.
What was the total?
It's about $175,000.
No, no.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah,
And you know, once again, we were on the point of the spear.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
We were like the
Yeah.
first county that they were really
Yeah.
going to hammer on. So, and we didn't have much options.
That's true.
You know, and no one really wanted to tempt the courts with the fines. So
yeah, no.
it's,
Still probably make up that cost after the development is in place for a fair number of years, you know.
So where the trailer is at now, they're gonna be built adjacent to that?
there'll be 3 of them to the west and 5 of them to the east.
All out there on the county property.
Yeah,
5 to the east of. 3 to the west,
Well-
what do you mean 3 to the west?
like where the trailer is right now.
On the other side of the road? 3?
No, no, that would be north.
That's not-
But where the trailer is, we've made the parcel close to the highway department driveway. So there'll be,
That's what I'm talking about. On
there'll
the
be
other side
3 of
the
them.
driveway?
No, they're all gonna be east of the driveway,
Oh,
but there'll be 3 of them that are basically immediately to the west of where the trailer is now. And then where the trailer is now to the east, there'll be 5 more.
you know, is there, is that?
And then there'll be room for another 3 on the parcel. So, I mean,
So what would be the projection date for one of these to be done? Or what-
well, I
what are you
took
looking
a look at the weather and the frost has only been down about 9 to 12 inches. So that's easily busted through. So, you know, hopefully, we were hoping like we would award the contract beginning of March, get all the contracts and everything signed, sealed and delivered and be ready to start like the beginning or early part of April. But now with the snow that we've got, you know, that's gonna kind of slow us down a little bit unless we get some warmer days and drier weather to where the ground will, you know, dry out a little bit. So,
Anybody else on the 980? Moving on to discussion on shelter care project.
shelter care is up and operational. We've got the funding to do the repairs. And I'm working with an architectural group to come up with our specs to do the roof, do the elevator, do the siding, do the immediate repairs that we have to do to clean it up and get it ready to go. There's some question about how ADA accessible one of their bathrooms are, so we probably have to remodel a bathroom. We've got to put some sprinklers in that they missed when they sprinkled it the first time through. So we have to add onto the sprinklers. But we're hoping we can get that worked out in the next couple months and then get that out for bid to do the roof and everything over summer.
You got enough funds allocated for all that?
Yes,
That's good.
I believe we do.
Great.
So that's going well.
Great. Any other questions on the shelter care project? Moving on to discussion on boathouse project.
This has been a frustration.
I think
Um,
than.
we have, it's on a site that used to be a coal gasification plant and a paint factory. So all of a sudden, you know, now the city brought up, well, it's contaminated soil. So we started doing sampling. We've gone out, I think now for 3 sample rounds. And we just got some of the samples back yesterday. And we're talking to the DNR. According to the solid waste, the first round of tests we've got said that they could take the soil at solid waste, but it has to be dry. So that opens up the whole question of what do we have to do to dewater it? So to answer that question, we've had to do 2 more rounds of testing to satisfy the DNR. And depending on what the DNR does with their review of the sample results now, will determine on how we can dewater it. If it's not at a certain level, then we can probably take it out to a county property and dump it and just let it dewater. If some of the materials are not able to be done like that, then we have to put it on an impervious surface, build berms around it, and let it dry that way. So we are waiting on the, literally, we turned the results over to the DNR yesterday, and we're waiting on 2 individuals there to give us an answer on how we can dewater it. And before we dewater it, whichever way we do it, they need to come out and take a look at the site and make sure that we do it right. So that is what is slowing down the entire process.
Does the DNR have any suggestions on where the soil could be dewatered themselves?
No. The DNR is working with us, you know, we'll come up with a site. You know, there's, if you drive down Highway Y, there's like a nice depression to the south of Y between where the 980 trailer is now and the transfer station. It's where solid waste. That would be a place I would recommend that maybe we dump it to dewater, because it's a depression, so we don't have to build berms around it. As far as I can tell, there's no outlet to it.
It's not a wetland or anything.
No. Well, that's one thing that the DNR is going to take a look at, because their big concern is that
I think I know where you're talking.
whatever we do, they don't want to contaminate the water. And we've got certain individuals that are just keep saying, well, just dewater it, just, you know, just get it done. And it's like, you know,
You do it the wrong way, you're gonna get
we
fined.
do it the wrong way, we're gonna get,
But if it's in
We're
a
gonna get
depression,
through it.
wouldn't the water, when it rains, wouldn't it collect in that depression and get the soil wet again?
well,
You have to
yeah,
wait for it to get a real dry period so you can dry it
Yeah.
and scoop it.
you know, I mean, it's like anytime it rains, it's gonna get wet again. You know, hopefully it will be water enough that, you know, maybe down at the bottom in the center, it might still be wet, so we leave that for another couple of weeks and then we get rid of it, or maybe we can just smooth it out and it just stays right there.
One question,
Sure.
I'm not a farmer, but I know that the farmers, when they get their corn in, if it has too much water, they can't sell it for the contract.
Right.
They have to do something to get that water out of the corn. Is that a process that somebody can come up with a truck and an assembly line, or not assembly line, a conveyor belt, and take that stuff out?
You know, can
And
incinerate
bring
it.
that, yeah.
Well, we used to
Is
have
there
it in
something
city
like
last
that?
year, you got rid of it.
Yeah, there is something that drives it like that, but now you're talking about a lot of money, we don't have that much money.
Is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You probably look at that.
Well, I haven't even looked at it because I know we don't have the money for it.
Okay.
It's gonna cost more than $10,000, and that's all that we've got left in the project.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
After it went up twice, or
Well,
twice,
3 times.
well, yeah.
Well,
So that's where we're at. It's not like we're dragging our feet like some people are saying, but I have a responsibility to the county that I don't just recommend that we go and stick it someplace and dewater it. And now we've got another environmental problem. You know, I don't feel comfortable doing
Kind
that.
of a catch-22.
Yeah, realistically, we should have done a phase 2 environmental beforehand, before we got involved in getting the boathouse, but we didn't do that. We had to get the boathouse done just like that, and, now we have. The
So
problems
this,
that
this is all at where the prior boathouse was.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, because you can't build a boathouse anymore. They don't, they're trying to get rid of boathouses, DNR. They allowed this one, right, because then they don't have to patrol the
right.
Winnebago water system, the
Right.
sheriff will do it, and they don't have to do that. I think.
So this isn't being considered a building a boathouse. We're doing extensive repairs to the existing one.
Yes. And that's the only thing, the only way you can keep one of these, and even, they don't even allow repairs on most of them. They just, you can't repair them, they just last until they fall down, and that's it, they're done. With boathouses now. As far as I
Just
know.
another question, okay, Winnebago County won't accept it because it's wet.
Right.
How about other counties?
Actually, it would have to go to Outagamie County, because we have the 3-county
Yeah.
agreement. The designated landfill for it would be Outagamie County, and it needs to be dry.
It needs to be dry for them.
It for the laws and rules that govern landfills, it has to be dry. So, Radke's original plan was to dump it into a sealed dump truck and just take it out to a farm field and just dump it.
Mhm.
And, I don't want to be responsible for dumping it on some farmer's field
Oh, yeah.
who now can't grow corn because it's contaminated soil.
Yeah, I mean,
In that depression out there, could you put a liner down first to keep the water, well, it wouldn't matter. So
But
it
if
wouldn't matter.
if it's not that kind of material, then
It's
I
a
guess,
clay bottom, and who cares, because it
well,
was,
they took the clay off,
oh,
so,
so it's no bentonite layer to catch the water from getting into the groundwater, then.
right. So, and it's close to wetlands, and it's close to a culvert. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be possibly a challenge, depending on what these results come back at. Or what DNR has come back and says, this is what you need to do. And to be fair to the DNR, they're working very well with us in trying to help us with answering our questions without telling us how to do
what
it.
about spreading it out on an asphalt parking lot? Could you do
Well, if
yeah,
it comes back that it can't just go on bare earth, then we have to put it on an impervious
that? Or maybe
surface.
UW Fox Cities would make it a science project with their parking lot that they're not using,
Uh,
but that's right next to wetlands too, so.
Oh, yeah, that drains right into that.
And then, you'd still have to build a berm around it.
Yeah,
So, if it comes back like that, it's gonna be a discussion I have with the county executive on what we do.
I hope this doesn't turn into another historical marker sign.
Oh, it's going to,
Oh,
and it's, once again,
And there's no other place that we can really do this at, right? I mean,
you mean getting rid of the soil?
no, to actually build the boathouse, because it's
No,
right
it's-
next to the fire department, right?
Well, it's
it's right next to the train tracks.
Yep.
up by
Yeah.
The river, just.
the problem,
By the river.
well,
That's the fire department.
like Tom said, is the DNR has got regulations on the waterways that you can't have wet boathouses. So, you can still have a boathouse, but you have to draw the boat up out of the water into the garage up on the beach. So, this is our only place. I know the sheriff and the county executive looked around for other places that we could do it, and it was gonna be much more expensive.
Okay,
So,
well, that's already been looked
Yeah.
over and.
yeah,
One more, I think I'm sure done on this. I live over in the Bridgewood communities, and they just sold the old golf course, the little mayor of the old golf course. In order to sell that golf course or that land, it was below grade and in the floodplain. So they had to find dirt somewhere, and the city decided to build one of those holding things, right near,
Retention pond?
yeah, Washington Park, I think it is, right there, right on the waterway. And, Bridgewood said, we'll take the dirt, all the dirt you can. Well, there is a huge mountain out in the middle of this land right now, and I'm not sure that's going to be enough for them. The land was recently sold to a developer. And isn't there a developer or something like that? Maybe even this developer who would just like dirt there.
We have to get it cleared for that kind of disposal.
I mean, I don't know what the city did to do.
So
get that.
the
that
plan
pond
is,
put in.
if it gets cleared for that kind of disposal, Racky's got a farm that they're gonna go and take it to.
Oh, okay,
We're stuck with, if it can't go on the farm field,
yeah.
then it has to go to a landfill.
Mhm.
And in order to go to the landfill, it needs to be dry.
Yeah.
Which I don't get because like Tom said,
It's gonna.
it's gonna get wet the next time it rains once we put it there. So,
I don't think the developers care about what kind of dirt it is, because they're gonna be building on top of
Well, if
that.
it's contaminated dirt, you know,
if you're gonna have kids playing on top of soil, we're looking at heavy metals and, other kind of chemicals that are in there
Yeah.
that you're not gonna. They're not gonna put a subdivision on top of it, it's gonna be Love Canal.
Encapsulation though, no, not Love Canal. No, encapsulation is one way the DNR deals with that. So if you have a contaminated site and you build a parking lot over the top of it, that's encapsulated the contaminated soil and, prevent from natural elements from, migrating the contaminants
Right.
down into the groundwater because it's sealed off.
Mhm.
So, if you have that situation, that might work if they would allow it.
And that's where they've got all of our test results now, and they're looking at it, and they're going to say, this is what we can do, and this is what we can't do.
Sure, okay.
If you take a look at the back here, when we redid our parking lot, we came up with a bunch of contaminated soils. So that's why we have the berms around, because the soils never left this site. So, that's how it was taken care of. There isn't room on this site to keep the soils there. So that's why we're stuck there too.
anybody else? All right, moving on, director report on department operations.
Well, we hit some of the big ones. We talked about the 980s. We talked about the building assessment. We're starting to get into the projects that we had lined up for this coming year. There's a number of the projects that you all will be voting on in February, I think, February 28th or whatever, for the capital projects that we'll start working on, like the Nina roof, some boilers that we have to replace. We've got branch 5's wood refinishing is going out for, well, actually, we've got the person here and they're gonna start working on it in the next month.
That didn't go out for bid, I thought that went out.
It went out for bid 3 times.
And now we're gonna do it in-house?
No,
Oh.
we got somebody who will do it. But we'll see how it turns out.
Who's that somebody?
Wood renovators, they say they do this all the time. So we'll see how it works. The USDA lease proposal is just, it is, if you take, the boathouse and the historical marker, mix them together and multiply it by 10, that's this project. I don't know, I can't remember what I told you last time. It came back in January. I submitted our last proposal in November, came back in January. They've changed what their requirements are. I've had to have discussions with Homeland Security for security stuff. We're still trying to work out some of the things that they want. But that's gonna have to go back out for rebid. I think it was Cardinal Construction could not hold their bid any longer. So it's gonna have to go out for rebid again. I don't know what the cost is gonna be. we'll see how it goes. But it's been a long project. And it's really difficult to get what they want.
How long term is the lease gonna be?
And that's what's really kind of sticking in my craw. It's 3 years firm. They want a 10-year lease. 3 years, they'll promise that they'll be here. After the third year, they could ask for more changes or move.
Do you have any leverage with them at all?
Not really. You know, we either have, our leverage is, nah, we're just
When
gonna.
is their lease, is their lease up?
Yeah,
So you could evict them.
we could tell them we don't want to renew the lease, yes. But the county executive and I have had this discussion. The whole purpose of having them there was to aid our constituents.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if it's in the county's best interest to evict them.
Yeah,
So it's
So
for our benefit, technically.
well,
It's
public relations. that's-
Well, that's what I mean.
it's public relations, and it's for the farmers and the people that we still have in the county that need to deal with the USDA.
Right.
If we were a more urbanized county like Milwaukee or even Waukesha, then I'd probably say it's not that important. But we still have a significant number of farmers in the county that I think we need to take and not cause them any problems.
Because USDA also had that same concern, that they would, if they weren't here, that they would have to have a building here in Winnebago County or Fond du Lac County or anything like that.
That's
Regulations.
Their comments to me are that they don't really want to relocate. They think that our facility provides a service that they need to provide. It's just coming down to trying to make the building conform to what they need to do to increase security, their space, and fill out all the tickets that they need to have in order to agree to a rental price.
Let's not forget they're a paying tenant, and I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be, right, harder to find that space, and they're paying for it, right?
I just have a problem with that 3 year.
Yeah,
So,
I have a real big problem.
could you, with all this extra work you're gonna do, could you ask for a longer term lease? That would just
I don't
make
think
it
so,
even
but
more-
what they're gonna, my proposal back to them is all of our costs. And all of our costs are planned to be recovered in the 3 years.
Oh,
Oh, okay, that's fine,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
I think you mentioned it.
but I hate to be taking 2 years out of my work life
Yeah.
to come up with something that the lease is only gonna be here for 3 years. In my 25 years here, USDA has changed what they wanted out there 3 or 4 times.
Sure, every administration.
So at this point, nothing's been done so.
No.
So I mean, and what kind of time are they giving us, or are we, or are we telling them how much time?
No, they're asking like they want it like tomorrow. And I'm telling them, my response to them is,
Really?
we are not a real estate management firm. We have a lot of other things that the county's doing. We are working on this and we're trying to get it done, and you'll get it when we get it. So,
Plus, the county has to come up with the money.
you've already come up with like $186,000. But since I have to go out for rebid again, that might not be enough. I might have to come back to you guys again and explain it all over again to the county that the USDA is going to pay for all of this.
That's what I'm talking about.
But
It's almost like, the boathouse, for instance. I mean, it's procrastination. And then the cost keeps going up, so then it's like, in that 1 year, the boathouse doubled, and now we're having the problem with everything else. So this could happen the same way if we don't.
yeah, and it's not like we're procrastinating.
No,
But-
we're not procrastinating, but obviously not. I mean, we're working very hard to work with them.
What kind of hurt was when they came back in January and said, well, we changed the requirements in October, so now that since we don't have the lease, we want to go back and change the requirements to what the new ones were in October. And so, I'm reading them and, some of the stuff that was not indicated in the first one was, like the walls that they wanted built around the computer server room now has to go from floor to up and above in the deck. So it just can't go up like, a lot of times in an office, your walls will go 4 or 6 inches above your ceiling. No, they have to go all the way from the floor to the deck. So now I've got ventilation and electricity and everything that's running through that area. So now we got to figure out how we're going to get the walls all the way up there. They wanted a drop box. We thought we had a solution for it. Now the new requirements are the drop box has to be accessible to the outside. So now we've got a brick building that we've got to try and punch a hole through to put a box through. We've got a counter that meets ADA, but now the new requirements are the counter needs to be between 48 or 44 and 48 inches, which is non-ADA accessible. So we came up with a proposal. Let's leave the counter the way it is. We'll put this glass across it that we use in the jail so that people can't jump across it. They seem to be responsive to that. Just some other things that came through, and it's like, you've got to be kidding,
So how are we gonna rectify this problem? I mean, how,
we're going out, we're redrawing our bid specs, and we're gonna go back out and hopefully Cardinal will
Yeah,
take a look at it and say, this is what our new bid's gonna be. And then I'll take that bid, put in all the time and effort we've put into it, and come back and come up with a number and give it to the USDA, and they'll say, okay, we're good with that.
And this 186 would be recovered in the first 3 years.
It should be recovered.
Okay, so if we had to approve more, that would be recovered. too.
Yes,
So we could do that.
yeah,
yes.
I guess my question gets back, I'm sorry,
It's just,
I'm back to the 30-year versus 10 years or versus we're gonna get all the money. I don't care.
Yeah.
Bring it up to 52 inches or something like that. And we don't care because you're gonna pay for it in that period of time. Does this committee, it will be committee,
where's
does committee have any authority to say, to block this and say, okay, it has to be 3 years payback?
it will be 3 years payback, because it's the least.
100%.
Yes,
Payback, okay.
yep,
And
that's the way I
they
got
don't
it.
like that idea, do they?
Yeah, they're okay with that.
They are, okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm back.
yeah,
I'm back with us.
Yeah.
I understood that part of it, yeah.
Thank you.
No, my frustration is just doing all this work and,
Yeah.
Right.
and in 3 years, they're gonna change it.
And it's just,
Yeah.
Well, can you bill for all the time you've had to put in?
That's, I've been, that's been.
Have you
Make
tell
sure you
me?
added the $200 we have sitting here today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna pay this for this.
Yeah,
I put in overhead costs for it.
Okay.
good.
Let's see, Parkview's water heaters are out for bid. They come in, early March. That is coming before you guys at the county board. We're kind of running this concurrently because, we want to get the boilers done.
I thought we already approved that. didn't
I don't think so. You guys approved it, but I think it's got to go before the county board for funding approval.
Okay. I know
Uh,
it came up in the Parkview meetings too.
yeah,
This week.
the Nina chiller has been ordered. So we are just waiting for that to come in. And we had like a 42-week delivery time. So that should come in sometime this fall. I'm not exactly sure how we are going to take care of the problem of keeping them cool this summer. We have an RFP out for doing the engineering work for the Expo generator. So that should be coming back in March also. The storage facility is we're in the final throes of getting the bid package all together. That's hopefully gonna go up a bid in, early March. And then we'll be able to move forward on that. Childcare center up at UW Fox is basically done. The range, the fume hoods, they've still got some repairs that need to be done. But in looking at it, with some minor tweaks to the fume hoods themselves, they should be able to be working. And then this morning, I'm just remembering my time back in college. I don't think we ever really worked with the fume hoods wide open. You know, you always, they had glass on the front because the ideas were that it was also some kind of protection for you all. So that you brought the face of the fume hood down a bit. And that's what the problem is they were saying that with the fume hoods wide open, they're not getting enough airflow to it. So I think we'll be able to get those done for a fraction of the cost of what the original plan was. And that's pretty much what we're working on right now. The budget, we're looking pretty good. Last year's budget, we came in significantly under, but that's because we had probably 7 or 8 vacancies throughout the whole year, and those were salaries that we didn't have to pay. We've managed to hire a new HVAC guy to replace one that retired. Our plumber has retired at the beginning of February, and we had one individual who was interested in it. He hasn't gotten back to us on whether or not he's going to apply. He's working over at the state at Winnebago, and I'm not so sure. Right now, our pay scales probably won't entice him to come over here.
Can we rework that? I just find it utterly ridiculous that if we're gonna have to pay for a plumber, a lot of times to subcontract that plumber out, that's gonna cost the taxpayers exponentially more
Oh, yeah.
than
Yeah.
it will if we have our own plumber. It would behoove the county and the taxpayers that we are competitive in these electrical plumbing positions, right?
Agreed.
I believe we will be with the compensation study. That's going to be presented to you guys this month. Let's see that.
We had that lady come in.
Yeah,
She was, yeah.
I think
through the agenda, I didn't see it.
I think you would like, don't quote me, but I think you guys will be seeing it at the county board this month.
I didn't know it was online already.
Well, we had a
She did a
presentation on it.
Yeah,
No, this will be a presentation on, she'll be back again
Oh, okay.
and explain everything, and then it will be the proposal to you guys on saying, this is what we want to do to the pay.
I mean,
So when is that gonna happen?
I think this month.
would this committee be able to direct something like that? Or make recommendations? Like I said, we know what a plumber makes in working outside the county. And if we're not gonna get a plumber or electrician to work for the county because the wages and benefits are so low, and then every time we turn around that we got to subcontract somebody out, that's foolish. I mean, will this committee be able to recommend, or is that in your budget, or how does that work?
It would. Whatever compensation plan gets decided by the county board. They're going to come forward with a presentation to you. You'll be able to ask questions and discuss it on the county board floor. And I can't tell you anything more because I don't really know.
So in other words, nothing to be done until this person comes back?
And I think it's gonna be next week. I haven't seen the agenda for the board.
So let's just say this, whatever, that moves forward, we have the presentation. She comes back and says, yep, we're underfunding some of the facility staff, we should bump this up to that. And you look at it, or this committee looks at it as well and says, that's too low, we're not gonna get anybody for that, we've been trying, we understand that. I mean, and at that point, then would that be something that this committee could recommend saying, no, we wanna make sure that we're
I would say at the county board floor level,
Okay.
you can do that. You can do that. You can. And really, we went through it relatively briefly. And I believe we're all getting moved to market rate. So hopefully with our benefits and moving the pay to what the market rate is, we'll be able to get more people to apply and work here. The other thing that y'all have to remember is government's not a real interesting place that people want to work at right now.
Well,
No.
yeah, I agree and disagree on the saying in the trades perspective that a lot of times, this is an attractive place to work if the pay is competitive because, this is a little bit slower pace and,
No travel.
no travel, right? And so it could be, a real attractive place for somebody to work. And again, I think it behoove us to, or you as well, to, find out, get some figures together and say, hey, this is when we're going out for electrical contract compared to when we could do it in-house. This is when we're, going out for subcontracting a plumber, when we could do this in-house, right?
Well, and since our plumber retired, we had an emergency repair, and it's like, when we have a plumber on staff, we can generally, 5 days out of the week, he's here. We can redirect him as we need. And on the weekends, we can usually get him in. But we had an emergency repair that fortunately we found somebody that got here in 4 hours. We could turn off the water and he could fix it and we got through with it. But it's what Andy says is, yeah, if you take what our fringes are and what our wages are for the individual, it's cheaper than going out and contracting because, we don't have the 10 or 20% profit that they build into their costs that they have to cover.
And that opens up to me, it's just a lot of times that, but we're always, an emergency situation, we're always gonna go to Frank's Plumbing because Joey knows Frank's Plumbing and he's always gonna, that's fine, they do good work, but I think anytime that you can do that work in-house with their own people, it's better serves the county as a whole, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And basically speaking, now that we're talking about that, it's even like retaining employees, so we've got to come up with a plan that we can retain these 20-year people that want to still work. And give them the money that they need to survive. Because you think every day, as well as I do. I'll use eggs as an example. Look at that. I mean, just the eggs alone. It's crazy.
Well, I go grocery shopping and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how some of our employees with 2, 3, 4 kids can make
Ends meet.
can survive going to the grocery store. I honestly don't, and yes, they are looking at, in the past, what would happen is the wage scales would move. So let's say we had four quarters that you could be in. And through your time with our pay for performance and everything, you work your way up to being in quarter number 3. When we moved the pay scales up, we stayed in place. So now that wage that we make might be back in quarter number 2, or maybe even back in quarter number 1. So now you have somebody that's been here 5 or 10 years that has been slid back in the pay scales, and we can't hire somebody and pay them market rate because now we'd be bringing in somebody brand new to the county and be paying them more than somebody that's been here 5 or 10 years.
That's always been the
So this plan that they're coming to you with is gonna adjust the pay scales if they needed to be. All 900 and some employees have been looked at individually, and they're going to be looked at with their time in service in their job title and say, this is where you should be in the pay scale. So there are some people that may move a lot, there are some people that may move not so much. There may be some people that don't move at all, just, depending on their circumstance, and every individual person is gonna be looked at that. And the goal is that we have a way for retaining people. We have a plan to move the people through the pay scale. And that there's a way to reward better performers from the lower performers. And that we have a competitive salary to the outside. It's a lot to ask of HR and the pay plan to do it. I'm not sure if they're gonna get everything done this first time. But that's what the plan is, that they're gonna come forward to you guys, and I believe it's either, is there a special orders in March?
Is there?
I think so.
I think it's coming before you in February. I don't know if you're going to vote on it, or if it's gonna be delayed till the time for you guys to digest it and ask further questions, and it gets voted on in March. I'm not privy to all that, but I do know it's coming forward. And they are looking at retainage, because, and I think at your meeting, you found out we've got like 40 to 50% of the people who have been here for less than 4 years.
Yeah.
So part of that is some people looking for a better paying job. The other part of it is there's a whole lot of us that have, like Sue Ertner, 40 years in. There's a lot of people that are getting to the point of retiring in the county. So we've got to be able to attract new talent, and we need to keep the people here that have the talents that are marketable someplace else. So I think the plan that they're going to propose to you is going to accomplish the majority of that. I'm not privy to everything to be able to explain to you everything that you can. But when it comes before you on the county board, ask them the questions that you have. Hopefully their presentation will answer your questions. Like, here's for the plumber, is the plumber's pay going to be comparative to somebody that gets something at DR Hansen or Black Hawk or someplace else?
Well, I hope you're advocating and.
Oh, yes.
And saying like, here's, right, it's,
Oh, yes.
right, we did these calls, it cost the county this much, if we would have had this plumber, it wouldn't have cost this much, right? These are the scenarios, and this is why we need to be competitive.
I was going up to Neenah one day and I drove by Great Northern Container. And they've got that big sign out there saying hiring maintenance people at $23 an hour starting.
Right.
And it's like, I take that information, I feed it into
Yeah.
it. And tell them what we've got. And hopefully the people at the lower end of the pay scales in the county get up to a point where we are getting people to apply.
Mhm.
And we're making this an attractive place pay wise and compensation wise to come to work. But like I said, people are not having a real favorable view of working for the government right now. So
My question, and maybe you can answer this, does the county pay for upgrading from a journeyman to a master?
I think, I would say they should, but I don't know.
Tuition reimbursement, you get that.
there is no tuition reimbursement.
There is no?
Yeah, that's huge anymore.
We are working on that. I've been harping on that for 25
We
years.
talked about that at Parkview.
And what we do, we have a job, we have a job title, and let's say, like for my plumber, the job title or job description says you have to be a master plumber. So those are the people that we look for. If we have somebody who is a maintenance technician and has done all his training and everything, and he would want to be a master plumber,
Mhm.
no, we don't have a way to do that.
Huh.
We don't have a way to hire somebody and say,
That's huge. It is
Um,
huge.
You need to have that.
Yeah, you need to have that, and for longevity, for retention, I mean,
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife's a nurse and it's like, okay, they paid for, her schooling, she had to be, or part of it, and she had to be there for 10 years, otherwise she had to pay it back.
Oh, yeah.
We have the money to do it up
We-
front, that's, we should be
We
doing
have
it.
to have that.
We are
even
working on
cash
that.
Cash bonus offerings, we might need to do that too.
We are
Some of
working
that.
on that. I know Highways was having a problem hiring people as TDLs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because they pay like $70,000, $80,000 a year, and you go down Oakwood to Badger Federal, and they're starting guys at $90,000 to $100,000. We did have one individual who did not have a CDL and was working for the county. And we used him as a test platform on how we can get somebody who needs a CDL, how we can get them trained, what kind of mechanism are we going to have to get back the money if he doesn't stay here for a certain period of time, how long does he need to stay? So we are working on getting him to a CDL. Now, conversely, the continuing education, everything that my electricians and plumbers and HVAC guys need, I pay for that.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
You know,
should.
but there is no policy with the county that says we will do this.
Yeah,
This is something that I put into our budget under training, that it benefits us because then we can keep the math.
yeah, we need to have a
So-
path here.
So how would you get that into the agenda to be able to do that?
We should talk about it when they're talking about the compensation study, we should bring it up.
Tuition reimbursement and,
Yeah.
right,
Cash bonuses, tuition
tuition
reimbursement,
reimbursements, and then like.
every department offering continuing.
Yep, continuing education to upward movement.
What I'm just gonna tell you is, over 20 plus, more than 20 years, because it goes way beyond when I was here. It's grown into an elephant. And if we try to tackle this all in one bite, we're gonna choke on it. So we need to get the pay to where it needs to be right now. We need to get something in here to keep the people we've got. We're
Right.
working on
And then
training and some of these other things.
And then go forward with the
But,
others.
you know, if we try to do it all at one time, it's gonna choke us. The bigger thing that we've gotta do is, we gotta stem the bleeding of people leaving us for higher paying jobs. And we gotta make the jobs attractive to get people in the door. And now, you know, this year we got the compensation and stuff done. Next year, let's look at a comprehensive training and advancement process on how to do it. You know, and I brought up to you guys a while back, you know, I found a great way that we could start doing maintenance training and everything here, you know, it was online and everything. And we went to start it this fall and all the videos are gone. We paid for the subscription and it's like they're gone. And I'm talking to the provider saying, where the hell are all these videos? You know, you sold us $450 worth of training, and the vast majority of what I was hoping to be able to use is gone. And I've lost 2 customer service reps in the meantime. So
What did they say when you asked them?
they haven't gotten back to me.
Oh.
You know,
They don't, because they don't know where they're going.
you know, and it's not something like JJ Keller doesn't offer this kind of stuff. This was something that was put out by an education branch of DuPont. And I don't know what happened to him. You know, and I have to call him back. 2 weeks ago, he called and left me a message, and I haven't had a chance to call him back to say, you know, where are these videos? I sent the list of videos that I had, that my first service rep sent me. And it's like, yeah, you know, these are gone. We go online now and they're not there. And, you know, these are all things like, you know, how to take care of pumps, you know, pneumatic systems for HVAC, electronic building controls, you know, how to troubleshoot HVAC systems. You know, those are things that Fox Valley Tech and other places would have classes. But when I talked to Fox Valley Tech, they, you know, his response to me was, you're not the first person to call me about this. But we don't offer it. You know, there are companies like KC and Truck and all the rest of these companies want training for our in maintenance. And Fox Valley Tech, neither here in Oshkosh or in Appleton, and I talked to the guy for industrial programs, says, yeah, we know there's need out there, but we don't offer it right now. And every year we get the catalog from them, and I go through there and it's, you know, there's like industrial tech, electrician they have, but we hire master electricians, so, you know, but there's nothing for maintenance. They're all into like trying to do robotics and automation type stuff. And that's not what we have. You know, we have, how do you take a look at an HVAC system and know that it's not just adjusting a thermostat? So, and it's like, I don't even know how much HVAC training they have here. Because a friend of mine, his son, I think had to go down to MATC in Milwaukee for HVAC training. So, you know, that's not something I can send somebody here for an hour out of the day to go do, because it's a 4-hour trip.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe when you retire, you could go head up the program and maintenance at Foxville.
when I retire, that's what my wife says, and I just say, no, I want to go and be a beggar at festival, because I don't want to have to think anymore. You know, I just want to know the eggs go on top, the pancakes go on top. And
After all this dealing with people, you're not like gonna be a recluse?
no, but I will need to do something to get out of the house. But you know, that's, so when they present you guys this compensation plan, ask the questions, you know. I know John, Damo, Bob Damo, myself, you know, we've been talking about the trouble that we've been having getting people with these. And it's not just always just the wages, it's, you know, what can we do to educate the people and get them going to a higher level position. And part of our problem is, you know, like if you're in private business, you have so much more flexibility on how you treat your employees. You know, here we have a job description for, let's say, a custodian. You know, and if that custodian excels in everything and would be a good maintenance worker, they can't really be promoted to a maintenance worker position, because all my maintenance worker positions are filled. The county board has said I can have 7 maintenance workers, and this one person can't move until one of those moves.
Sure, got it.
And if they're all young, that can be 20, 25 years. So that kind of drives some of the things with people saying, hey, I've got all this training, you know, because we'll train people here, we'll show them how to do things if they have the initiative and everything. But then they look at it and say, you know, I'm gonna be stuck here for the next 10 years before Joe retires. And then they'll go and look someplace else. You know, so that's how we get the churn here with the employees too. So, you know, that's something that the administration and the department heads are saying, we've got to find a way to make this something that we can do with the employees. But it just comes down to, you know, our hands are tied because we're a public entity, and there's laws and things about how we have to do things. So I kind of missed being back in the private sector. It was easier, way easier. So.
All right, anybody else? It was a good discussion. Moving
I'm
on.
sorry, there was one. Did I miss it? With the highway office odor.
We are working on doing the mold mitigation. That's gonna get done. And because the original plan was to give you an opportunity to say which way we wanted to go, and we changed it to, we're gonna do the mold first. We've had to readjust the highway upgrades project so that we don't undo the work that we do now to take care of the office.
Sure.
So that should be, we're hoping to get that out to bid here real soon.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Moving on, suggestions for items for the next meeting agenda.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. to start. And if you want anything from the project list, USDA, that'd be ongoing.
Yeah, ongoing.
Hopefully by then I'll have some kind of resolution. Or at least something I can go out for bid and get a price and send it back to them.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Everybody good with that?
Mhm.
All right, moving on to next meeting date and time. So we we have 5 Wednesdays in the in the month, so. Yeah, we've been doing it on the fourth Wednesday, which would be the 22nd, 3/22. 23, is that works?
Yeah.
22nd?
22nd,
Oh, good, I'll be back.
Where are you going?
Florida. That's. Unfortunately, yes, I have going.
fortunately. All right. Very good.
28. You see,
Could we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
All right, thank you,
Put that
gentlemen.
in here right now,